the entire section filled with students, all wearing matching shirts. They weren't organized the way the old Lancer Nation, Viking Valley, they weren't organized with the cheers and all that. But just to see, it's been so long since we have seen a student section like that show up.
So I think there was a time where that was the default, right? Like most schools around here, there was like good or bad season, the student section was packed because it was a thing to do. And I think that like the culture has changed, and there's a lot of kind of fair weather fandom, unfortunately.
There was a run, obviously Viking Valley and Lancer Nation, but the Colonel Crew in Ledyard was routinely filling that. NFA and the Red Sea. I remember we helped name their student section because they were looking for a name because they were so proud, and they ended up winning the student section. We went to Old Lyme. They had a whiteout on game day. They had the fatheads. They had the posters. I mean, back when we were saying we'd bring you the pizza, now it's like we could actually bring a pizza and feed the student section. So I'm hopeful for tomorrow night. I'm hoping it's not a big dud. And when I talk later, I'm going to be clear. I'm not putting a Viking Valley hat on or a Lancer Nation gear on if there's 14. Just because there's 14 versus 10 doesn't mean I'm doing it. Like, you got to show up tomorrow. I'm skeptical at best right now.
I'm hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic.
And that is not usually your go-to position on things.
No, I'm usually a skeptic.
Yes, so cautiously optimistic. You just lifted me out of you just gave me hope, Peter.
I mean, like you said, we have had assurances from players on both teams.
Yep.
So Viking Valley, Lancer Nation, don't let your teams down. Don't let Casey down. Casey wants to wear a Viking helmet next week.
Or, in fairness, I would rather have the choice of, oh my gosh, they both turned out so much. How am I going to possibly choose? Than the alternative, which would be just me walking with my head down in utter disappointment. But I'm going to say that me walking with my head down, utter disappointment, is actually a segue to this week's Eastern Connecticut Boys Power Ranking. So live from the Day Studios, 200 State Street in New London, Connecticut, it is time for the Eastern Connecticut Boys Power Rankings. Peter Huoppi, Casey O'Neill, we will break it down and bring it down. And I have decided, in honor of Saturday's, this past weekend's Valentine's Day weekend, I am going to do these power rankings, and I am going to say something that I love about every one of the teams in the power rankings. But similar to most of my Valentines, it's not you, it's me. I am also going to make sure that I let each team know what might be the possible riff in our relationship, where things might go astray. Now, do you want to go 10-1 this week or 1-10 this week?
This is a 10-1 week, I think.
A 10-1 week. All right. So let's start off with the team that comes in at number 10. And at the end, after number 1, you want me to talk about the teams that didn't make it now or at the end?
Let's go back at the end.
Back at the end. All right. So coming in at number 10, the Killingly Trailblazers, currently at 12-6. Now, I looked through the schedule, and I am going to give you my projected final record for each of these teams as well. This is my projected final for what that's worth. And I bring that up because we're now down to where teams have 1 or 2 games left. A little difficult finding some of the scores that from earlier in the year that against out-of-state teams in particular, but I think we've got it down. So Killingly's at 12-6. I project them to finish 13-7. The linchpin game on that, the game that will turn it, is Woodstock Killingly play for the Division II ECC championship. And if Killingly wins that game, then I think 14-6. But I have them right now. I have them projected losing to Woodstock only because I flipped the coin and it said tails. And so that told me Woodstock.
Well, Woodstock has had a weird season and has shown that they are capable of going toe-to-toe with anyone in this league.
Yes.
So you got to figure the ceiling is maybe a little higher on Woodstock.
They are. So I'm going to go with them in that head-to-head matchup. But Killingly's my number 10. And what I love about Killingly is that big three. They've got really good coaching, a legitimate scorer, and a big man who's tough. Crowley and his 1,000-point scoring he's a legitimate scorer. And then your favorite big man in all of the ECC, Peyton Wallace down on the. Wait a minute, that's not right.
Peyton Wallace is
that's not who I meant.
Quinn Sumner. The QB/center.
The Quins win. Quinn Sumner versus Quinn Crowley. This is where my brain's at. Quinn Sumner down on the block has been great for them all year. He's not afraid to be physical, and that's why I love them. Okay, I love them because they got a legit guy that can score, a legit tough guy who's not afraid to play down low, and great coaching. Killingly, it's not you, it's me. Who can score when they take away Quinn Crowley? Who's gonna? I mean, all you're gonna face against good teams are teams that find ways to take him out of the game. Who's gonna be that guy? That's the question that they have to answer. They're Division III in the state tournament, which is going to be very challenging for them. There's a lot of good teams at the top of that. Can they make the ECC final in Division I? They're going to have to upset somebody to do that. We'll find out. Number 9, Panther Pride. Plainfield, 12-6. I'm projecting them at 13-7. They've got 2 big ones coming up, Woodstock and Putnam. A game that I think they're the underdog in and a game I think they're the favorite in, but both Northeast rivalry games for them. Here's what I love about the Panthers. They're below the radar, but above the rim. Braden Marquis is a problem. He's going to be a Division V problem for teams. He's going to be a Division II ECC problem for teams. He's a big guard wing who can get to the basket. I mean, he's filled up the grade 8 with dunks this year for Plainfield, and I think that's something to, when you have at Division V, when you have a player like that, it can cause problems.
Yeah. Is there a hotter team in the ECC right now than Plainfield? 7 in a row.
7 in a row. And now this is why Plainfield, it's not you, it's me. Can you beat somebody you're not supposed to? Woodstock. Beat Woodstock, and it'll make me feel so much better about our relationship. I expect you to beat Putnam, not that Putnam's not capable of beating you. Putnam, anytime Espinoza and that group's together, I expect great things. But I just got to see Plainfield beat a team that they're not supposed to beat. That's one of the – it's not a knock, but it's one of those things that we'll talk about at the team that's coming in at number 8, also in that same boat. And the team that coming in number 8 are the Bears. The Stonington Bears coming in at 8, 13-4. Now it says they have 3 games left, despite being 13-4, which would give them 21 games. So I'm not entirely sure if that's true, but all 3 of the games left on their schedule are games I believe they are favorites in and should win. So I have them winning the remainder of their games. What do I love about Stonington? I don't know that I've seen better offensive efficiency from any team this year than I have from Stonington. They can score in bunches very quickly. And at the end of the day, for most games, it's we have Elijah and you don't. Cornell is that much of a difference maker. There's a lot to love with the Bears. But Stonington, it's not you. It's me. You don't have a signature win. They've beaten a lot of teams, but all of those teams, those 4 losses are to teams that, the 2 losses to Griswold, losses to teams above them. I just want to see them beat somebody that gives them that signature win, and I'm a little concerned, as the 1-3-1 is so good. We saw it envelop teams, but if a team's not shook by it, can they adapt?
So I think in Stonington's mind, they need one signature win this year, and that is pencil in the rematch with Griswold in the ECC final. Now, they got blown out one time and barely lost in overtime the other time. So as far as their ceiling, their ability, that is a game that they can win. I know that they're not looking ahead beyond each next game, but that's the question for me: is what did they learn from that blowout loss at Griswold that they can put back in?
Yeah, I think that's well said. They have Ledger. We saw that one, and they have Ledger again. That's probably the team that's the most competitive team they have left, and they dominated Ledger. To your point, they were hot. No one was playing better basketball, and Griswold thumped them. That's concerning, but it makes the ECC final, if that's the one that happens, boy, does that make that fun. Now, you're talking about the Division II ECC tournament. Plainfield, who we mentioned, is going to be trying to make a run there. So is the Putnam. Ledger's thinking they have a chance to knock someone off. But you'd be hard-pressed to not put Stonington Griswold as the third time at Mohegan Sun. And if that's the case, it's going to be a big-time effort for them. Speaking of the aforementioned Wolverines of Griswold, they're coming in at number 7. 13-5, projecting them at 14-6. They have their senior night game versus NFA, and they can win that game. And if they do win that game and they finish at 15-5, that will put them. That's going to alert some people about where they are heading into the ECC tournament, because NFA obviously legit. What do I love about Griswold? Chris Coleman and Caden Kozlowskis. They embody when this team is playing its best basketball. They are the two guys that you look at and went, those are the two kids that I am not picking to be the basketball players. Coleman's the smallest guy on the floor. Kozlowskis doesn't stand out in anything. Everything he does doesn't wow you, and then you look at his stat sheet and it's incredible. He's like a mini Kevin McHale.
So I take issue with that because the effort that he puts out every game that I have seen absolutely does wow me.
Fair.
So he's not going to be a highlight reel. So I find sometimes editing highlights from a Griswold game, there will be an amazing 3-pointer, a Colby Mills dunk. Mm-hmm. And then you go look at the stat line, and it's Kozlowskis scored 29, and it's all gritty plays around the basket, and maybe it's not one that wows you in the edit, but the effort he puts in every game absolutely wows me.
So to quote an old radio guy, you're making my point. Because you look at, if I lined the Griswold team up before the game and I said to you, pick out the two guys that are going to make the biggest difference for this team, you're not picking Coleman and Kozlowskis. Yeah, and yet when Griswold's playing its best basketball, they are feeding off of these two guys because they are max effort guys who are locked into what their roles are and what they do best, and it allows their stars, and I put that out there, it allows Colby Mills and Aiden Cutter and guys like that to really just flow, because they get caught up in that same effort. So Coleman and Kozlowskis make Griswold go. The rest of that team, they're so dangerous. So, Griswold, it's not you. It's me. Our relationship lacks intensity. Sometimes I feel like you're just not in the same place I am in the biggest of moments from your intensity standpoint. I've seen lapses in your intensity in moments where I would expect you to be super intense. Notice I didn't say effort. I hate saying that a team doesn't give effort because I don't think that's fair. It's not like you're not trying. It's that there are stretches in big games where it feels like the urgency isn't there. And then when you need to turn it on, you often do, but sometimes that's not always enough, as we saw in the Grasso game. I still think Griswold has its best basketball ahead of it, and I love the coach, but that's my only concern is that we've seen them kind of drift through some of the big moments.
So what's really impressed me about Griswold is, so last year the conversation was which one of the starting five is going to be the guy, right? Like they had 5 guys that could beat you every game. This year, it's like it's not just that, like who's going to be the guy, who in the rotation is going to come in and be the difference maker. And so, like you said, we've seen Coleman, we've seen Jaden Joseph, we've seen Noah Suvenance. So now, like beyond their sort of default starting 5, they are getting key contributions from guys guys off the bench, guys who were bench players at the beginning of the season who became starters. And so that if they can figure all of that out, there's no one in the tournament that, including Stonington.
That's
like
right.
If they're firing on all cylinders and they've got guys 1 through 8 contributing, like that's a really dangerous team.
It's funny because we've named 6 of those 8. Who's the guy that hit the biggest shot of the entire season last year for Griswold? Was replayed 1,000 times.
Yes, yeah, Braden Widener.
So, and we're not even talking about him. I think he's been kind of going along with this team's ups and downs. As they get towards tournament time, I think he becomes an immense factor for them because he can flat out knock down threes. And as you know, they're at their best when it's inside, outside with Kozlowskis, Widener. It allows Mills and Cutter to just flow and cut to the back. Like, that's when they're dangerous. Don't sleep on Widener. He's a guy who we don't mention a lot, but I think there's a big shot coming in his future, as we saw last year. Number 6, Wyndham Tech. 16-3. I project them at 17-3. One curiosity is they had a game canceled. It said their game with Plainfield was canceled, Putnam rather was canceled. So, which is a shame, only because that was a cross ECC match that we would have liked to have seen.
Yeah, so I asked you, is there a hotter team in the ECC? Is there a hotter team in this countdown
than Wyndham
right
Tech?
now than Wyndham Tech? 9 in a row.
No, 9 in a row, and they're kind of stuck in the 6th spot just because of what the teams above them are doing. But I love teams that live up to expectations while flying under the radar. They fly under the radar because they're a tech school in Wyndham, which puts them out of a conference that we see a lot and out of a coverage area that we see a lot. But we knew coming into this year that their expectations were super high. We knew they were going to be good. Everyone talked about them having their, the big scorers back, the Brady Bunch. But I think living up to those expectations while not getting the same, eyes on them that other schools have that's what I love about Wyndham Tech. Now, Wyndham Tech, it's not you. It's me. I don't know what to make. You haven't played the same schedule as everybody else. It's not as good a schedule as, say, a Grasso Tech. Now, you beat Grasso Tech, so I know you're capable. It's just harder to judge Wyndham Tech versus all of these, including Grasso Tech or some of our other non-conference teams because they haven't played the same schedule. They are playing more of a traditional tech school conference schedule than some of these other teams are. So I don't know what to make of them. They're in Division 4, and that puts them in the same division as teams like Stonington, teams like Griswold.
Old Lyme.
Teams like Old Lyme.
So all 4 of those teams in the top 10 of the D4 state rankings right now. So the round of 16, round of 8 in that playoff bracket is going to be very interesting for us in Eastern Connecticut.
Now, you've seen Marsh play multiple times. Put him into context for people who don't get to see Wyndham Tech. I know everyone knows, they see the numbers, the scoring. Give a little breakdown on Brady Marsh.
So Marsh and Colby Dunnick, like 2 guys who, so similar when you talk about Caden Kozlowskis, like you look at them, you look across at the bench in warm-ups and you don't pick out either one of those guys. Oh, that's going to be someone who really impresses me. And they are both hardworking, athletic, leapers, scorers, shooters. Yes, very, very impressive to watch. They went, the last time I saw them in person was last year, toe-to-toe against Grasso in that double overtime game, and they just kept scoring.
I look at them kind of like we looked at Shephog Valley last year, where you look at Shephog Valley and you didn't see athletes. None of them were particularly tall. None of them, looked the part, and yet they were jumping out. They were incredible athletes. They were jumping out of the roof. But similarly, you look at Walsh and you look at Marsh and Dunnick, rather, and you don't see that until they start moving up and down the floor, and then you see them playing above the rim.
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to some Kozlowskis and Eddie Fisk guys. I mean, but the difference is they will wow you. They will get up and make really athletic plays, blocks, dunks. If the season were to finish right now, that's the 6-3 quarterfinal at Old Lyme.
Hey Hildy Heck, just letting you know, you might have to make accommodations for game day. Number 5. Dropping down a spot, more out of an acknowledgement to the teams ahead of them than anything else, and that is the NFA Wildcats. 11-7. I am projecting them at 12-8. They have got the hardest remaining schedule, Fitch and Griswold. They've already lost to Fitch. Griswold is a game that they're supposed to win, although it's at Griswold, senior night. Griswold's going to be going crazy for that one. They're going to be packed. So not an easy finishing for NFA.
And let's just say that NFA was like 2.5 minutes from being number 2, possibly, in this.
Yeah, they lost by a basket to East Hartford, and I'll get to why that bothers me in a moment. But what do I love about you, NFA? I love that you came into the year and have adjusted who your big, who like the go-to guys are. You figured it out as you went along. Josh Lavoie and Sean Clayhar are now kind of like the big 2 for them. And Lavoie has taken over, like he's the man, and he's an impossible guard as a point guard. He's a press breaker. He's an elbow jumper every time. I love that those 2 are the motors that make NFA go, and it allows for some of the other guys who were maybe thinking we thought maybe might be more prominent coming in, kind of accepting slightly more specific contributory roles, and it's made them very, very good. NFA, it's not you, it's me. You play too many close games. And I mean this in both a good way and a bad way. I feel like every game with NFA is coming down the stretch and it's a 3-point game. It's hard to win all of those. Sometimes you just need to beat a team by 20. But this is a team that lost to Fitch. That game was down the stretch. It was a close game. It ended up being 6, but that game was a basket-to-basket game. New London lost in overtime. Beat New London in a game that was back and forth and went into overtime. Lost to East Hartford by a basket. Lost to, early, just too many close games for NFA. The problem with close games in all of sports is that close games are won more often than not by in a more equal match. So if you look at Major League Baseball and you see who wins the one-run games, it's actually completely random compared to the best team. So in any given year, you'll see teams that finish well below 500, they win close games, because close games can come down to a lot of different things. That's why the great teams blow teams out, so they don't always have to play close games. NFA just plays too many close games. That being said, the 1-2-3 in Division I is going to be a lot of fun, and whoever ends up in that 2-3 game is going to be decidedly have a tougher matchup than whoever finishes in the 1-4. And right now, all of the top 3 teams are in the mix. That NFA Fitch game is way more important to NFA than the Griswold game is. The Griswold game is important for their record and to Griswold at senior night, but from the ECC standings perspective, it's all about NFA and Fitch.
Currently tied for the 1 seed right now. Yeah, so NFL, I mean, technically that's a underdog situation. So if NFA upsets Fitch, that throws the rankings. That potentially brings in some weird tiebreakers.
Once we get to number 1, I'll talk very briefly about the top 3 there. Coming in at number 4, back up to number 4, the Old Lyme Wildcats, coming in at currently 16-2, and I'm projecting them at 17-3. That last game of the year against undefeated Ellington, I'm going to put that into the loss column for them right now. I would be thrilled if they prove me wrong, which they are very capable of doing. We saw them play Fitch. We saw them play Cromwell. We know they can play with anybody. But that right now, Ellington is 18-0 and showing no signs of slowing down. And Ellington is, when you're that close to an undefeated season, you're not taking anybody lightly either. And Ellington's going to be more than prepped for that game. What do I love about Old Lyme? Is there a team that's better embodies a championship mentality than Old Lyme does? Like, this is a team that has been in the state championship back-to-back years, and they play like it. They play like a team that doesn't get too high or too low, that rolls with all of the punches, and that just expects, there's an expectation of a championship there. And it just makes them play a little different, which is how they can absorb a terrible loss to Portland and not let it shake them. Like, closer games with Old Saybrook than they would like, right? Closer games.
1 point.
Yeah. But none of that rattles them. They're going to kind of keep rolling. They always compete, and so we know that's going to happen. So, teams like Old Lyme, they're well coached, but there's an expectation from Brady Sheffield that filters down through his kids that they expect to win and expect to be in the championship. Old Lyme, it's not you, it's me. Are you just tired? Is the spark still there in this relationship? Because I get the feeling that maybe there's just been too many battles, maybe too many tests. I mean, do you just need something? Are you in a rut? Do we need a spark? Do we need like a weekend in Cabo? But I feel like sometimes when you play as many big games as Old Lyme does, because when you're a smaller team like that too, and you're constantly filling your schedule with teams up, I feel like sometimes it's easy to get into a little rut in your conference schedule, right? When you play your Division 5 and 4 opponents, when you're playing the bigger schools, every free chance you get, you're playing Fitch, and you're playing, teams that are bigger than you. You're playing Cromwell. That sometimes those Old Saybrook's just don't have the same pop for you. So I feel like maybe Old Lyme might be in a little bit of a rut, or are teams making a decision on how to defend them differently? Because the games have been a little bit uneven for them. So we'll see. I still firmly expect them to make a deep run.
Absolutely.
Coming in at number 3, the Grasso Tech Eagles, 15-3. They might be 16-3, but there's a score I can't find. But I don't project them to lose again. I have them finishing there at 16-3 or perhaps 17-3, depending on what that game is. What do I love about Grasso Tech? A newfound commitment to defense. This is a team that just tried to outscore everybody last year and could not get a stop in the big moments. Watching them play, while it's not whistle to whistle, it's not buzzer to buzzer, you can see there's a commitment to playing defense and not blocking shots and wraparound steals. That's not defense. I'm talking about really good physical man-to-man, really good pressing and trapping, and there's definitely a commitment there to defense. You can see Tim Strong really went to school with them this year to do that. And I think if they're going to make a run, that's going to be the thing that's different between them and last year. Grasso, it's not you. It's me. I feel like sometimes in the half court, you kind of lose your enthusiasm. It's easy to run the floor, score in transition. It's easy to hit those big threes and get, Juju up at the rim to dunk one here and there. But when teams bog you down and get you into the half court, I see an identity crisis sometimes of how do they want their half court offense to go. if your half-court offense is Julius Washington driving wildly to the basket in the hopes of a foul or it's a long contested three, that's not going to be okay. So if I were, and I'm sure Tim Strong is all over this, like this team wants to generate its offense out of its defense and trapping and all that, but when it gets bogged down, can they get a little more efficient offensively?
I was very curious. I'm still very curious about the noon start time, but I was curious to see the result of that Grasso-St. Bernard, because we know St. Bernard has struggled largely because of their outsized strength of schedule, but they are still a very good ECC team, and so that was a good benchmark. I think a solid win over a strong ECC team shows that like Grasso is not just a nice tech school having a good season.
That's correct, and that's this isn't Division I state power St. Bernard, but this is a St. Bernard team that we talked about. The teams they've beaten are the kinds of teams that Grasso wants to be on this side of, right? And so to beat St. Bernard, that's a big win. And, Mark Jones knows what he's doing. So that team's always going to play hard, and I thought that was a good win for Grasso. It was a little uneven at times, but ultimately a comfortable win for them. All right. Not a surprise to anybody, I don't think, coming in at number 2, the Fitch Falcons. 16-3, I project them at 17-3, but man, that game with NFA is anybody's contest, and that is going to be interesting.
So,
yep.
So just to be clear, there is a curse on the number 1 slot.
100% there is.
Okay.
I by the way, I texted Dave Cornish to talk to him, and I did not get a call back yet. So or a text back yet. I'm wondering if he's mad about where they end up this week. What do I love about Fitch? I love the big three's unselfishness. Xavier Good could be a 30-point scorer on a lot of teams. Sakis Reels could be a 30-point scorer on a lot of teams. Caden Simons-Gaskin could be a 30-point scorer on a lot of teams. The three of them coexist so well together and step up as they need to in the moments that they need to. And I think that's important for this team to make a run. Fitch, it's not you, it's me. I worry that you can't hold up against bigger teams. I saw you get exploited a little bit in the game that we're going to talk about in a moment. And I just worry, Charlie Giancopoulos battles like crazy, but I just worry that against some of the teams they're going to see D2-wise, that they may just not be able to hold up size-wise.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that was the deciding factor in the fourth quarter against New London.
Speaking of New London, back in the saddle. Now, Fitch, in fairness, we had New London once, one, they lost to Fitch. We bumped Fitch up to 1, they lost to Woodstock. We put Old Lyme at number 1, they lost to Portland. They're the only teams that have been number 1 this year. So and they're still sitting there at 1, 2, and 4. So, the curse only knocks you out of the top spot. Now, New London is fascinating to me, and I will tell you why. They have 2 games remaining. They are currently 13-4. I project them at 15-4, but both of their games are with St. Bernard. If you're Mark Jones and St. Bernard, you're hovering at the 7-win mark. Would it not? And you're going to qualify automatically because you're in D1. But would it not be like a real feather in the cap of this rebuilding St. Bernard team to knock off New London, get to the 8 wins that would get you into the state tournament no matter what? And I think that would be amazing. They're an underdog, obviously. They've got East Lyme and New London twice. Does St. Bernard? I think they'll beat East Lyme, and the New London twice will be interesting. Now, we're focusing on the Whalers here. So what do I love about New London? I love the newfound energy and defensive spirit in the team basketball that I saw against Fitch. They had to overcome the Hall injury. They got Jeremiah Ikpasa back, and they went with the lineup of the brothers Ikpasa and Young in the middle, and out on the J.J. Robinson and Hall at the guards. And what they ended up with that five are five defensive-minded energy players. And I made the statement that the Ikpasas go after rebounds like I go after donuts, with a ferocity, like they wanted every rebound they could get, and it changes New London's dynamic because New London, similar to Grasso Tech, wants to score its offense in transition off of defensive rebounds and steals, and these guys changed the complexion. The way they came out against Fitch was unlike I had seen them this year. It also allows Soria to come off the bench, which is a great energy guy to come off the bench. Dixon has given them really good minutes off the bench. Now, we're going to have to find out what happened with Ikpasa, Isaiah, because he did have an injury in the Fitch game. But I loved that look of that team.
And so you emphasize the defense and the rebounding. On the offensive side, they kept getting to the basket, like not settling for three-pointers. That was playing with a lead, right? We have seen New London teams that struggled playing with a lead. That game got down to 3 points, and they just ran away with it.
Yeah, and to your point, they kept getting to the basket, but under control getting to the basket, not the shot clock winding down, driving uncontrollably to the basket.
Yeah.
They kept playing north-south, which was remarkable. Now, New London, it's not you, it's me. You're thin right now, especially if Ikpasa's not able to play. You can't. I don't know that they can win with 6, and I don't know where the other three-pointers are going to come from in the time of need. This is nothing new. Coach Cornish is all over it. I think they're going to have to develop another player if, in fact, Ikpasa's hurt. Someone else is going to have to get minutes for them, and we'll see where that comes from. And I don't know who that's going to be.
So I think we'd be foolish to think that Fitch is going to pack it up and be done after that loss, right? There's no chance. They are too good a team. Coach Brown is too good a coach.
Yes.
We have seen them adapt and make adjustments in game.
Yes.
So they've got NFA at least once. Mm-hmm. New London again. Potentially another game with NFA, depending on how the seedings shake out. So it's going to be very interesting the next time we get to see Fitch on the floor to see how they've adapted, because they are going to.
100%, and I look forward to it. So let me just break down the top 3 in the ECC before we talk about the teams that are just on the outside looking in. So New London's got St. Bernard's left twice, and Fitch has NFA, and NFA has Fitch. The loser of the NFA Fitch game will fall out of first place. If New London wins both games against St. Bernard's, it will finish in a tie with either Fitch or NFA, the winner of that game, for first place. Now, if New London loses to St. Bernard in one of those two games, all of this is figured out. The winner of Fitch NFA becomes the number 1. But because we're playing hypotheticals and guessing, let's say that New London does win both games against St. Bernard. If Fitch beats NFA, Fitch and New London finish in a tie. The difference would have been that Fitch would have beaten NFA twice, New London would have lost NFA, and that Woodstock loss from Fitch may not hurt them standings-wise, and that might give Fitch the 1. If NFA beats Fitch, NFA and New London will finish in a tie, and they have the exact same record versus each other. They've lost to the same teams. Now you're going down into the tiebreakers deep, and I'm not even going to try to do that math yet. But the difference between the 1 and the 2-3 is not having to play NFA, Fitch, New London in your semifinal.
Did you bring a whiteboard for this? Because I'm confused.
I did. It's a smart board, and I put the numbers on. It is going to be a great week in the ECC as we get to the close to see what the tournament looks like. A few things here. Teams just on the outside, right? Woodstock at 10-7. They could realistically run the table the last 3 games and finish 13-7, which would cement them, I think, in there.
And there's someone who has the ability to play spoiler
Yes.
in the tournament.
100%. I mean, they beat Fitch, and I don't think they want to play Fitch again because of those circumstances.
Now, the challenge for them, semifinals wise, is that's basically a home game for everybody else.
That is correct.
Having to come down to New London. They've got the longest trip.
Yes. And they also have the most decided home advantage when teams go there, so they're giving that up as well. Ledyard at 9-8 could finish 11-9, and that'd be a nice season for them. DJ Exum, we should be happy with that. That's a tournament team. They're going to be trying to pull off an upset. I think they have a better. They've shown that they were competitive with Griswold. They were non-competitive with Stonington the first time. They get another chance at that. Let's see what they can make of it. I think Stonington's a tough matchup for them. I think Shevlin's presence bothers Griswold. It's a little different with Cornell, so that could just be a matchup issue. But they'll get a chance at it. The team I wanted to focus on, I already mentioned them a little bit, is St. Bernard. St. Bernard beat Woodstock. They beat Griswold. They beat Killingly. Right. So if they had been in Division II, which is where they probably should be, that would have been a fascinating D2 conference or D2 division. Look at the teams that they lost to. 15-3 East Catholic, 16-1 Windsor, 14-3 Fitch, 15-3 Grosso, NFA, who's 11-7 and only because of a great schedule. So I mean, St. Bernard's is playing a D1 statewide schedule. If they were playing a D2 statewide schedule and a D2 ECC schedule, they probably would be, they could be 14-6, and we'd be talking about a whole different. So it really does matter. That one little bit of a jump matters. But Mark Jones, he's always going to play the best. He's always going to want that team to be the best, and I applaud them for maintaining it. And Brevin Gonzalez has emerged as a legit superstar in this league. I mean, he is having a fabulous season.
And I would say something similar to Woodstock, that St. Bernard is a team that's got a chance to be a spoiler in the tournament. It's going to depend on the seedings.
Yes. Yeah.
It's for them. It's all about seedings and matchups. And if they can't beat New London in one of those games, they're sitting in 6th right now, which is a tough spot quarterfinals wise.
Yes.
A 6 seed versus a 5 seed for them is a huge difference. Yeah.
So just similarly, the difference between the 1 and the 2. The difference between the 5 and the 6, right, is a huge difference as well, because the 5-4 matchup allows there's probably 3 teams that could win in a 5-4 matchup, but falling to the 6 means you're playing somebody in the quarterfinals, like you said. So yeah, definite challenge. Tomorrow we'll have the girls' power rankings, which I think are definitive now in the top 2 spots more than any place else, even more than boys, after what we saw this past week. And tomorrow night, live on game day, we are at the X, Viking Valley, Lancer Nation. Don't disappoint me. Please don't disappoint me. I want to have a Viking helmet or a Lancer hoodie. I want to have something on next week that I can feel good about because of the showing up that occurred. Don't disappoint me. I just got done the Valentine's Day power rankings. Please don't break my heart. I gotta see some love tomorrow night at the X. I mean, you're cautiously optimistic.
I mean, these are 2 teams and 2 schools that you could say don't have a lot to play for anymore, right? Not state playoffs are off the table for both of them. ECC playoffs are going to be a huge challenge, other than whichever one of those teams ends up in the play-in. So like this is their championship game, pretty much. East Lyme likes to tell everybody about 4 wins in a row, and Waterford was not healthy the last time they played.
Appears they will be.
It seems like they're going to have everybody back. They got that win back against Wyndham. I know a game that I know they wanted the first one back. They gave up a big lead and lost in overtime. Waterford doesn't want to lose this one at home.
I talk about it with you. I'll talk about it. You'll see it in the Open. No two towns are more familiar with each other than Waterford East Lyme. These kids play against each other in championship games from 5 years old all the way through high school. And across sports in high school, every time you look up, East Lyme, Waterford has a prominent matchup. But you can't say that you're the best rivalry in the ECC, right? New London Fitch, New London NFA, Stonington. Well, it's not ECC, but Stonington Westerly. There are some incredible rivalries across sports in the ECC, and East Lyme Waterford claims that number one spot. You can't claim that number one spot if you only show up when things are good. So we will see.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Well, as always, that's been your power rankings. Remember, above all else, the crystal ball